Today in the EU, explaining the EU's campaign to roll back wolf safeguards. Wolf protection is back on the table for EU lawmakers as they must now reopen talks on the EU's Habitats Directive, a cornerstone of biodiversity policy in the Union. It's because the Standing Committee of the Bern Convention decided to back the European Commission's proposal to weaken the protection of wolves on Tuesday. But according to most in the scientific community, wolves are still an endangered species, and killing them might do more harm than good to local communities. So why is the Commission waging a crusade against wolves, and how does it align with the Union's environmental pledges? Hello and welcome. I'm your host, Giada Santana, and this is Today in the EU. Today, I'm joined in the studio by Barbara Machado, energy and environment reporter at Euractiv. Hello, Barbara.
Hi, Giada.
So you've been reporting on the Bern Convention that gathered in Strasbourg yesterday and just voted to downgrade wolves' protection status. But things were not always this way, and we were not always worried about wolves being too many, right? So how did this all start?
Just to give a bit of context on why there is tension between wolf populations and communities. So the wolf was persecuted to the point of extinction in many European countries, but they have made a comeback in the last decades thanks to good conservation policies. Also, for example, the Bern Convention precisely adopted in 1979, the Habitats Directive adopted by the EU in the 90s. So there has been an increase in wolf range until the present moment, but this is starting to create some tension with rural communities, with the fear that the wolf may attack livestock, and there have been some attacks, and thus there was this proposal by the EU in 2022 to downgrade the wolf protection status from strictly protected to protected to allow hunting more easily.
And now, what does this change mean concretely?
So what the changing status means is that so far, the strict protection meant that it was prohibited, all forms of deliberate capturing or killing of the wolf were prohibited. But member states could apply for some derogations in specific situations. Now, what will happen is that culling or hunting will be way more flexible. And it's actually a bit unclear how all of this will go. One of the options is by adopting quotas, but there is a potential of an increased number of killings.
So the proposal was approved just yesterday. And when it comes to the motives behind it and several countries voting in favor, I mean, is it because wolves are a consistent threat to livestock, or is it because of other biodiversity concerns? What does your reporting tell you?
No, in reality, I wouldn't say that the proposal is well supported, because even the Commission, for example, in 2023, President Ursula von der Leyen stated that the wolf poses a real danger to livestock and potentially to humans. But in reality, the Commission found no recorded fatal wolf attacks on humans in Europe in the last 40 years. And it also noted that wolf attacks on livestock is concentrated in very specific regions and that the impact is still small.
And is there any scientific backing supporting the push for more wolves killings? I mean, would that address farmers' issues around livestock?
So scientists have been warning that culling is not effective and can actually be counterproductive, because if you disturb the social structure of a wolf pack, they can start hunting even more, or they can increase their breeding actually. And this aligns with the Commission's findings, actually. The Commission had a report finding that hunting does not seem to reduce wolf depredation on livestock, and unless it drastically lowers wolf population over large areas. Actually, 6 out of 9 wolf populations in the EU have not reached a favorable conservation status.
And the European Ombudsman also started an investigation into the political motives behind this proposal.
Exactly. So that happened following a claim by an NGO Client Third. And basically, the EU Ombudsman asked the Commission to clarify on what scientific evidence it based its statement on the danger posed by the wolf. And it also pointed that the Commission departed from the better regulation guidelines on stakeholders consultation and asked for reasons for this.
So what does that mean when you refer to these guidelines? Was there meddling of external actors when it comes to this proposal? Is that what the Ombudsman found?
What I can tell you is that the Ombudsman found that the Commission, when it carried out data to support its statements, it breached the better regulation guidelines on stakeholder consultation. I think that this is because they didn't find it transparent.
So, assuming that this is politically motivated, at least to an extent, what is really the rationale?
Well, we have to think a bit about the timings because the Commission put forward this proposal in December 2023, just months before the June EU elections. And so, of course, the Commission president needed the backing of farmers, needed the backing of the EPP. So the timing does signal that this was very clearly politically motivated. And there's another argument supporting this, which is in 2022, Switzerland actually made the same proposal to the Bern Convention to downgrade the wolf protection status, and the EU blocked the decision because it found that there was no favorable conservation status that would justify. So the levels of wolf populations didn't justify downgrading the protection status. And the data from 2022 to 2023 didn't change much.
Interesting.
Yeah, so there was clearly just a change in the political priorities, let's say.
Mm-hmm. And so how are local NGOs and researchers reacting to the news?
Not well. NGOs, scientific community have always been voicing that there is no scientific backing for this proposal, that it needed that scientific backing to make the change, that this can lead to extreme culling and reverse the progress made so far, even threaten the species survival, because also what can happen is that the quotas can lead to increased hunting, but also it potentiates illegal killings.
Illegal killings being...
So breaching the quota that you actually have to hunt.
So a potential killing of more wolves that what would be safe for biodiversity reasons.
Yes, and that it would be mandated, actually. What NGOs have also been saying is that this should not be the first step to be given. There should be other ways, for example, fences, that the EU should invest a bit more and provide funding to farmers for better fences, other means that would allow actual coexistence with wolf populations. And they also warned that wolves are crucial for ecosystem stability, to provide ecosystem services, and their role should not be compromised given the current global biodiversity crisis.
And so can you tell me a bit more about the role of wolves in ecosystems?
Yes, for example, wolves are important to keep populations of deer stable, to clean carcasses that are left in the wild, to avoid spreading of diseases. So they play a very important role for the stability of an ecosystem.
And something that has been bugging me since the beginning of this whole story is how, at the same time, the European Commission has biodiversity pledges that it's supposed to respect. So is there a chance that the change to the protection status of wolves is not consistent with those? Or how does that fit into the bigger picture?
It doesn't fit. It's actually completely incoherent, in my opinion, because the EU has, for example, the biodiversity strategy, it adopted the nature restoration law, so it has all these big pledges to restore nature, to create large natural areas, to restore species. But then once there's a species that was being restored, it put an end to that. What it seems is that these biodiversity policy decisions are just flagships for the EU to try to act as a global biodiversity leader. But in reality, it's its own territory. It's not really making progress, or it doesn't have the intention to make true progress.
Yeah, I mean, are you referring only to the vote related to the Bern Convention?
Yes, although the EU has also been giving signs that it's not that committed to protecting nature, such as with the recent postponement of the EU deforestation regulation. So now that it's time to act, to implement, the EU is not showing up.
Mm-hmm. And some even say that this is von der Leyen's personal crusade, the one against wolves.
Because of the pony.
Because
yes.
of Dolly, yes.
Yes, indeed. Von der Leyen had her pony killed in 2022. But I would say this was more a move to make sure she would get the backing of DPP, the backing of farmers from her country, from all EU countries. The fact is that this is a big decision with huge consequences to be taken based on that political motive.
Yes, what now when it comes to ramifications of this vote?
So now the process is actually not complete. The EU still has to, after amending the annexes under the Bern Convention, now the EU has to do the same in the EU Habitats Directive for this decision to be applicable in the EU.
So the Habitat Directive has to be reopened.
Exactly. And this can be dangerous, and NGOs reacting to today's decision are also warning about that, because it may have consequences to other species, for example, the bear, or it may have consequences in terms of other articles in the Habitats Directive. Mm-hmm. It may have further implications not only for species, but for other types of assessments provided for in the Habitats Directive.
So this vote could lead to more votes on other animals.
Exactly. The Commission has been saying that this proposal is just for, it's only to change the wolf protection status, but we know that once this goes to the Parliament, everything can happen and other proposals can be added.
Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.
I'm Giada Santana, and this was Euractiv's Today in the EU podcast. Visit Euractiv to stay on top of the latest news, sign up for our newsletters, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or your favorite streaming platform. Don't forget to leave us a star review. It will really help us spread the word about our work. This podcast was produced by Miriam Sainz de Tejada, Charles Cohen, and I. As part of our commitment to accuracy, inclusion, and transparency, Euractiv is part of the Trust Project.